Nothing turns people's heads faster than me having to explain that I've only beaten one Legend of Zelda game in my life. I know what the title says. I'm sorry, it just reads better than explaining I've only ever finished Phantom Hourglass. But I don't really know why either. I love Phantom Hourglass, but every attempt I've made on Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, and even Twilight Princess ends in me forgetting about the playthrough just a few hours later. So I've finally decided to change that. This is the Great Legend of Zelda Marathon. Now, I won't be going into too much detail about how my playthrough went, like how I felt lucky finding each of the swords early, or exactly how each dungeon went. If you want that, check me out over on Twitch. Here. But I do want to touch on some of the highlights and some of my less than stellar moments. I didn't really know what I was expecting when I agreed to play an old NES game, but the only thing I had heard about the NES was how hard all of the games on it were. But luckily for me, I don't think this one's too bad. Sure, there were some enemies like Dark Nuts or the Wizrobes, who I affectionately named those magic bastards or those invincible knights, and I vowed to eradicate them off of the face of Hyrule. But for each of these nightmares, we had your friendly neighborhood Octorot and bats. I really depended on where you were meeting them to how evil they were, and for most, the worst were in the dungeons. To put it simply, Zelda 1 is about finding 8 dungeons to assemble the Triforce, and then using it in your final battle against Ganon in Dungeon 9. Some of them stick with me a lot more than others. Dungeon 1 went by in a breeze, Dungeon 2 was pretty uneventful, and I thought I had it in the bag. What could possibly stop me from completing this first entry in a mere matter of hours? Well, for those of you who can count, I'll give you one guess. Can we bow and arrow the tree? Nope. Worth a shot. Can we boomerang the tree? Can I stab the tree? Can I push the tree from any direction? I'm gonna get more water. Oh my god. I'll be back. No. Oh. That's right, I spent hours walking past the 3rd dungeon. I found the 5th dungeon, the 6th dungeon, multiple heart containers, different items, and I even managed to circle all the way around Death Mountain a few times in an effort to find dungeon number 3. Where could it possibly be? What could I possibly be missing? The answer? A single right screen move. Luckily, by the time I did actually find this accursed place, I had learned a considerable amount about how to actually play the game. So with ease, another dungeon down. I had small wins, like solving the mystery of Dungeon 4 rather quickly. How much I ran around the map, as soon as I had grabbed the raft, I knew that a secret green dock not too far away was my next target. At this point, my initial thoughts were starting to really take form. The combat's pretty simple, but enjoyable. I found finding the heart containers and powering up one of the best parts of the game. And oh god, was I glad that I found that ring of half damage to buy. I even began to think that maybe the Dark Nuts weren't so bad. Running around Hyrule for so long allowed me to get much more familiar with the screens. And while I don't think I'll be able to navigate it as effectively as if I had a mini-map, I still could get from spawn point to wherever I was looking to go relatively effectively, at least for me. I had slowly begun to much more manageably take on enemies, but this piece would change with Dungeon 6. I don't think anything will stick in my mind like the Wizrobes did. If that name doesn't strike fear in your heart, I really don't know what could. In Dungeon 6, the likes kept eating my magic shield. I didn't really want to spend a lot of time farming money in order to get a new one that I would lose inevitably when I got eaten again. Yes, it was a skill issue. Yes, the dungeon left me without part of my soul, because no matter what route I took, one room would kill me. I'd go for another route, another plan, another way through the room, and then voila, the Wizrobes found and killed me again. But luckily for me, it couldn't last forever, and Dungeon 7 and 8 went better. Not perfect, but my new white sword and ever-increasing supply of bombs and hearts helped out in traversing these rather treacherous locations. I even managed to stumble upon Dungeon 9 in my attempt to find the 7th. I gotta say, some of these hints the wise old men were giving were very tricky. I specifically spent quite a bit of time and quite a few bombs trying to find a secret in the, quote, lone tree that was hosting one of the gambling dens, rather than looking to burn down trees that hid the entrance to the Dungeon 7. But with time, both it and 8 fell. The only thing standing between me and victory now was Dungeon 9 and Mr. Evil himself, Ganon. And oh boy, nothing could have prepared me for what I would discover there. I showed up to his lair, managed to complete his very large dungeon, and presented my completed Triforce in the room before. Imagine my surprise when he immediately disappears. Oh, I think. Surely he just ran away, and I would have been correct if ran away meant turning completely invisible. Alas, it did not. I will say this stumped me. I spent quite a few attempts trying to defeat him, standing in my new favorite spot on the map and using my massive health pool and healing potions to just tank as many fireballs as I could while stabbing wildly in one direction where I had thought I'd taken surprise damage from. He appeared, I had hit him, he could bleed. And that's all I needed to know. On one of my attempts, I managed to get him into that physical state 5 times. But no matter what I did, he wouldn't stay down. I had to have been doing something wrong, I think. What could it be? I shifted through each item in my inventory, stabbing him, burning him, playing him a nice song on the recorder, before finally shooting him in the head with a silver arrow. As quickly as it had begun, my journey had now complete. Well, at least after I had saved the princess. We had a small scare that I wasn't going to be able to put out the fire in the next room, and while I'm very glad I came up with the idea of stabbing it to put it out, I almost did leave to go find a fire extinguisher. But I wouldn't really have minded that though. Exploration was such a core component of what made this game so fun to play. I spent a good bit of time looking for and collecting different heart containers, bows, arrows, rings, magic books. And while many of these were tied to progressing through the dungeons, I almost felt more satisfaction in increasing the number of tools in my tool belt than I did actually putting together the Triforce. We had so much fun, in fact, that we decided to make it an unofficial goal of mine during the marathon to collect every heart container in the game. Exploring every corner, hunting through every cave, and trying to discover what secrets exist in the world do seem like a rather worthy, albeit maybe lofty, goal. Luckily, I'm proud to report that not only did we manage to find all those heart containers in Zelda 1, we also managed to collect every single item as well. There were a few tricky spots, like when my bomb didn't blow up the entrance to the cave containing a heart container on the southern shores, or the time I jokingly considered taking the red water of life over another one on the other end of the secret raft journey. In the end, we managed to pull through and only needed a few vague hints about perhaps retrying to bomb certain entrances to caves. It's this sort of exploration that makes me really excited to continue the series. I've managed to remain incredibly blind on so many of the entries that I couldn't tell you which one the moon appears in. I'm pretty sure it's Ocarina of Time. Please don't correct me. But it's always seeing how wrong I could be. Like for example, thinking that Bulasis was the end of Luigi's Mansion 1 as a 9-year-old. I'd managed to come really far over just a few short days. Every item, every heart container, and even managing to figure out how to not immediately die to most of the different creatures that roamed Hyrule. I learned to respect fighting Octoroks, my then second favorite enemy, beaten out only by the Genie that ruled over the large graveyard. I was surprised, and you might think I'm surprised a lot, but as someone with virtually no knowledge of NES games or the Zelda franchise, I wasn't expecting just how many twists and turns I would have. I had gone through a love-hate-love relationship with the bows. I learned that it cost money to fire, only having it to help me in my time of need against so many of the late-game bosses. I even managed to begin my journey of exterminating every Wizrobe from the game. I still hate them, don't worry. And with that, my first foray into Hyrule came to an end, but the journey was far from over. I traveled through forests, graveyards, snowy and rocky mountains, over lakes in the dungeons, and even bested the ultimate evil, securing a second Triforce, which I'm sure that will make more sense later. As I heard ultimate times, who knows? But I enjoyed my time here. It's a game that I was, as with many other things, surprised to enjoy. A game so out of my wheelhouse of long-form RPGs and first-person shooters that I had no idea what to expect going in. And to be honest, it made the journey all that much more sweet. With that one down, I can finally move on to Zelda 2, but I'll have to beat that one before I can talk more on it. Again, if you're curious, I do plan on playing through all these games as I did with Fire Emblem on my Twitch channel. Link in the description. At the time of writing this, I've only played about 2 hours of Zelda 2, and I'm sure it'll be significantly more by the time this has been uploaded. So if you want to watch me try my second ever platformer, or hopefully I've put this out before I've started Link to the Past, feel free to come join. I'm live 8 p.m. EST with Zelda on the weekends, and then most weekdays at the same time with a whole bunch of other stuff. Plus, it would make Spencer here really happy. But whatever you do, thank you for the luxury of your time. Please remember to stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye for now, and I hope to see you soon.